what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this kabocha squash in the microwave. And it turns out, actually on the inside, it's the consistency of potatoes almost. It's not starchy, but it's just pretty dense. And what I do is I scoop out the seeds, and you can eat those if you want. If you want to rinse them off, but I usually don't bother. And I'm going to cook it in the microwave. And what I do with it when it comes out is I either make it sweet or savory. And if I want to do savory, it turns out like a good mashed potato. But since this one's kind of drier on the inside, so what I'll probably end up doing is actually baking it in the oven in my squash fries. And the squash fries are pretty simple. I just cut it up into little squares, kind of like potato wedges. Stick it in the oven for about 35 minutes, and it comes out, tastes like French fries. But the French fry consistency I like is I make it sweet, so I put like stevia and cinnamon on it, and it turns out nice and crispy. So it's like my fake out fries. And I also leave the skin on this. This is one of the few squashes you can actually leave the skin on, because the skin has obviously a lot of vitamins and nutrients in it as well. So I know that the only person that's ever asked me about these squashes when I've been buying them in the grocery store was either Vietnamese or Japanese. And those people have been living for a pretty long time, so I think I want to take a few tips from them. Now, if you want to make a mashed potato, I know a lot of people use this to make soups with, but I like to make mashed potatoes with it. So when it comes out a little moister, that's what I usually do with it. It depends on what kind of squash you get, depends on what time of year it is. So right about now, these squashes are in full bloom. It's their time of year, so I'm going to do with it whatever's best for it, whatever it wants me to do. And this one's fighting me. They fight you when they want to live.
So what's the next step after you take all the seeds out of them?
After you take the seeds out of them, and since I'm going to chop up this one, I'll just show you since I'm ready. I start cutting it. You obviously don't want that stem on the top. I'm going to wedge this one into fries, or kind of like a tater tots, like people like them.
So what's the advantage of eating this over potatoes?
Well, obviously there's not a lot of carbs in this, and there's no sugars either. So this is something I like to eat right before I go to sleep, because it doesn't turn into fat as you're sleeping. I mean, people that eat fruit and candy or anything high sugar at night, you probably want to avoid, especially if you're trying to stay lean. And I'm always trying to stay lean. I don't want to be flabby. So you have little squares, and you put them in the oven, and they roast up really nicely. They don't lose a lot of shape, so you can put them really close to each other, and you leave the skin on for the extra bit of nutrition. A little bit of salt, a little bit of stevia. It's like a sweet potato fry. So this is the other treat I make out of my kabocha squash. After you microwave it in the micro for about half an hour, I think this one, because it was pretty big, you can scoop out the inside, and you can see it's real flaky, almost like a dried up potato, and that's kind of the consistency that we want for the mashed potatoes. So I scooped out the insides and I put it in the fridge, but here's another added bonus. You don't throw away the skin, because this skin is completely edible. Like, I could eat a little piece right now. See, it's real soft. I mean, it's not like it'll hurt you, but what I do is I stick it back in the microwave, and I try to do this in the same day. I've never tried this on day 2, but it's almost like a potato chip after you put it in the microwave for about 3 to 4 minutes. You don't want it to burn, but it'll crisp up really nicely, just like a potato chip. So you can put whatever seasonings you want. I just usually put a little bit of salt and pepper. Sometimes I put a little Parmesan cheese on it. And you want to try and get it close to the skin as possible, so I'll just eat that piece because it's sitting in my face. So this is kind of like my version of potato chips or squash chips. I know they're selling squash chips in the stores now. They're highly, highly marked up, so if you can get your hands on these, like squash is in season right now, so it's really cheap. You can probably get this yourself if you feel like taking the time to do it. It doesn't take me that long because I'm used to it, but see how it's already kind of crispy on that one. I probably cooked it a little bit too long, so it's real crispy already. So this is the finished product. It's it's pretty dry. You can see how crispy it got on the top. But like I said, it's a good fake out. That one's a little mushy. Put whatever spices you like on it. I usually put salt and pepper. Okay, so this is part 2 of the oven-baked squash fries. I've had these roasting for about 35 minutes, and I stick them underneath the, you can see they're already pretty much done. They're just a little bit mushy. But what I'll probably do, what I usually do, is put them under the broiler for about 2 minutes and just get them nice and crispy. Because I like my fries like that. I haven't actually had a French fry since, oh geez, probably about 20 years. Nah, maybe about 14 years. But we'll see these when they come out. Alright, now it's almost time for dessert. I have my squares with a little bit of stevia, cinnamon, and salt on them, so it's kind of sweet and salty. Stevia, for those of you that don't know, is a natural sweetener. It's made from a root and sometimes a leaf, and it's ground up. Oh, I don't want to show what kind we have, but we use a higher end one just because it ends up being sweeter, and some of them have that really bitter taste, so it doesn't exactly taste like sugar, but you can use a very little amount and it still really sweetens everything up. So there it is.